So you're thinking about moving to Auburn, Alabama. In this video, we're going to be covering everything that you need to know about the changes in the real estate industry as a whole and what that means for you and your move to Auburn. And stay tuned because at the very end, we're going to be going through some of our solutions for you as a buyer looking to make the move to Auburn. Auburn, Alabama area. I want you to make sure to go ahead. Thank you for joining me. My name is Alex Acuff with eXp Realty in the Acuff Weekly group. If this is your first time to our channel, make sure just to hit the subscribe button. That way you don't miss our next video, as well as hit the bell notification that will notify you when the next video comes out. Also, leave us a comment. Let us know what you think of the video. And as always, if you're looking to make the move to Auburn, just like people do every single day, I want you to go and reach out to me and my team because we are getting reach outs all the time from people just like you that are curious, wanting to know more information, or looking for someone to help represent them and be their fiduciary on their transition to Auburn, Alabama, because let's be honest, not all areas are created equal. And if you're moving from either 30 minutes down the road or 3 hours, 30 hours across the country, it doesn't matter. You're going to need someone on your side to help you make that transition that knows the market dynamics, knows the houses, and knows how to negotiate and get you the best deal. Today's video is a little bit different. We're going to be talking about the NAR lawsuit, the implications, and what that means to you and your move to Auburn, Alabama. So you might be asking, what is NAR? NAR stands for the National Association of Realtors. This is a trade organization that most real estate agents that you run into online or in person are typically a part of. And you'll see it because you'll see Realtor after their name. And so Realtor is actually not the title of our job. We're actually salespeople or brokers, qualifying brokers, associate brokers. In my case, I'm a qualifying broker. But when you see Realtor, that means that we subscribe to a higher level of code of ethics, and we want to make sure that you understand that we operate at a higher level than just any Joe Schmo that has a real estate license. And of course, this organization, NAR, it also helps us with our policies on a national level. And so we have all kinds of influence in politics, and then they also hold us to their standards, of course. So real quickly, I want to get into the details. We're not going to go super deep into this, but it's important to know exactly what the allegations were. So the lawsuit accused the NAR of allegedly artificially inflating costs on behalf of the plaintiffs. So they're saying that by sharing commissions, which we would negotiate a commission with the seller, and they've always been negotiable, we would list a commission, a part of our commission on the MLS to share with the buyer's broker. And they think that was anti-competitive and it inflated the costs for the buyer. So if you take a little bit deeper dive into the lawsuit, they're basically saying that we weren't transparent enough about commissions and that was stifling agent competition and raising unknown costs on both sides of the deal. Next, I want to talk a little bit about what the settlement is from NAR and talk more about those little fine items. So let's talk a little bit about the implications of the settlement. So what we are seeing as far as the changes that are coming down the line is definitely more transparency. So it's going to allow for more negotiation of commission as well as modification as to how we translate the information if the seller decides to compensate a buyer's agent and how that information is reflected. So what does that mean, commission transparency? Basically what that does is when you are going to buy a property or go look at a property, should I say, and you call an agent and you say, I'd like to go see the property, at that moment, the buyer's agent is not allowed to show you a property that is listed on the multiple listing service without having some type of service agreement with you and a clear understanding as to what their professional service fee is, aka it could be a commission, it could be a flat fee. I think we're going to see a big variation and shakeup in the market, so it could be changing. We're not totally there yet. This is going to all happen as of today. They say it's going to start August 17th, but I know that multiple listing services across the country are going to be implementing this at different times. So we'll be seeing these changes throughout the country, and of course there will be plenty of news headlines highlighting it. So for buyers, when they speak with that agent, it is showing that those professional service fees ultimately lie on the buyer to pay. Now, to understand this a little bit at a higher level is that depending on how much cash you have available and what your ability is to cover the cost, that service fee to a real estate agent will dictate on who you work with and how you work with them. So you will have ultimate negotiation going on at the very beginning. And I've talked to a lot of people about this, and it seems like it may cause a little bit of friction, but understand that pretty standard practice that we've seen across the industry, especially what you'll see in a buyer agency agreement, is that we will negotiate a commission or a service fee amount in the buyer agency agreement, the terms of that agreement, how long it is, if it's just for one home, one day, or a longer timeline, and that we will typically seek that compensation through the transaction and have that compensation paid for through the seller's proceeds. So you'll see maybe a seller concession, which may offer compensation for the buyer to pay for it'll be a concession towards closing costs, or you could decide to have that pay for your agent. So there's a lot of shakeup that we will see in the industry as this comes into play. And yes, we have seen all the different lenders and all the different mortgage products have now come out to say that they are separating out any amount that is being paid to cover the professional service fee versus closing costs. So they will delineate, and the VA has also announced that VA buyers are now allowed to pay their buyer's agent when purchasing a home, because ultimately the VA is there to benefit those that are typically military, and allowing them to be competitive in the market and also work with the agent that they desire. And not every VA buyer is 100% financing. A lot of them roll their proceeds that they've gotten from other sales into the next home. So we do see decent cash out of pocket that's being put down on homes from VA buyers. So it's not going to be totally uncommon, but we have seen changes from like Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac and what they're doing with FHA and VA loan products and how they're delineating that. So yeah, this could mean more expense for the buyer to purchase a home. And how does that affect purchase prices? We don't totally know how that's going to affect it. It'll be interesting to see the changes in kind of what we want to call the messy middle of real estate that is probably coming around the corner. Let's talk a little bit about the local market and how that's going to affect us here in Auburn, because that's what you hear on this video to see. So what I predict, this is just a prediction from me, and I do list a bunch of homes. I'm doing anywhere from 2 to 5 typical listing presentations a week, working with a lot of buyers and sellers. Last year, we sold over 220 properties here in the area. So we're very familiar with the dynamics, the movement, the timeline, the speed as to which you need to move. So we may see I talked a little bit about a messy middle, and let me further explain that. Let's just say that I've listed a property and we are now to that point where the buyer's agents are no longer seeing the commission offered on the MLS. Whether they have been educated or not, they may not have the education and the language to speak with their buyers to fully help them understand their professional services, because over 20 years now, most buyer agents have kind of been avoiding the conversation, not to throw them under the bus, but just to help you as a consumer understand that a lot of times people will go online, click on a property, they'll be connected with an agent, they'll go see that house, and if they like that house, they make an offer, they go through their entire due diligence, and they get to the closing table, and they've seen on the settlement statement how much their buyer's agent actually made. Well, we are offering now more transparency to that whole system that you just heard. So up front, when you see that property, you want to go see it, you really have to be selective on the agent that you hire, and you will figure that out real quickly when they can't show you the home without some type of agency relationship with you, and also a clear understanding of what their compensation is as your agent when seeing that property. So you will understand their professional services and the professional service fee. So if they are not educated on how to tell you their unique value proposition and how they sell properties and how they can negotiate the best deal for you, when they contact us to show the home and maybe the seller is saying, I'm not offering a commission per se, but we will take a look at that commission that you are requesting to covered by the seller. If they don't have the education and the language, there's going to be some friction that's involved. And that friction may cause them to actually, in my opinion, I think it's going to cause more steering than than you've ever seen in the real estate industry. That's just a personal take. It could and it couldn't, but it will offer transparency on what their service fees are and what their services are. So when you hire an agent, you need to understand that you need to have an interview system. When you talk with those agents, you need to know, what are you paying for as the buyer's agent? Because if it does come down to it and you've got to pay the buyer's agent, what are you really paying them for? And it comes from doing a little bit of due diligence with that agent, understanding, how does that agent work with their buyers? What's their communication like? What home, how many homes have they sold in the past trailing 12 months, and a lot about, you want to compensate them based on their ability to offer a professional service for you, just like any other industry. So you want a well-qualified agent. So I do suggest doing a little bit of due diligence. I will tell you, ChatGPT is perfect for if you don't want to spend a lot of time on this. Go ahead and ChatGPT how to interview an agent, and that will help you so much when interviewing an agent. What are the financial considerations? You need to be budgeting a little bit more money to cover that professional service fee if it's not completely covered by the seller. Now, I'm not going to get into it, but there is possibly a difference on the commission that you have signed up on a buyer's agency with versus what is being offered by the seller, and covering the difference of that cost. If you want to have more about that conversation, just reach out to me. I'm more than happy to have a fun conversation around this. I have been having this conversation for well over 6 months now with all of our buyers and our sellers. We have been cooperating with this clear rule about agency and professional services fees for well over 6 months, and breaking this down for everyone because we've been preparing for this moment. So yes, you need to be budgeting those for either compensating a buyer's agent and what your closing costs are and your down payment. And you may have to move your finances around a little bit to pay maybe the service fee. Maybe it's a lower down payment and still have the closing cost coverage. So if you want to run through some of those scenarios, we can connect you with a local lender who can walk you through that. Now, we've talked a little bit about it, but let's talk about how you're going to navigate working with a real estate agent when purchasing a property in Auburn, Alabama. So like I said, selecting the right agent is very important. Selecting an agent that is well educated on the NAR lawsuit, number one, so they completely are compliant with what is going on. Making sure that you have what we call a buyer presentation with an agent or a consultation. So as maybe a first-time home buyer, or you're selling your home to buy a home, make sure you're going through that consultation with an agent, and make sure they actually have a presentation that lays out what their professional services fees are, and all, because they may have a retainer or they may just have some type of flat fee, a commission. It is dependent on the agent because we are independent contractors, but also on this document, you want a list of their professional service fees, and you need to know what you're getting into. You need to know if your agent is a part-time agent or are they a full-time agent. Is the compensation reflective of their communication and what they offer? So for example, when someone decides that they want to commit to working with us and our professional services, we do a few more things that are extra. And one of those are finding off-market properties and opportunities for our buyers. So if you're an investor, or if the home you're looking for sells really fast, or if it's just not on the market, reach out to us. That's actually one of our bread and butter, one of our specialties as a team. And what you get with us is that we are fighting on your behalf to do a lot more than what the standard agent is. Because by hiring us as your agency to purchase a home, you're not just hiring one agent, you're hiring an entire team. So I predict that a lot of buyers will want to work with teams that specialize in this, and we are one of those teams here in Auburn. Also, we talked a little bit about their services, but making sure that you understand what is their protocol for negotiations. How do they like to negotiate? Have the agent tell you an example of how they won a deal. How did they take a financing deal to beat a cash deal? And how they can save you money. Do they have a proven track record of saving their clients money in the transactions? Now, on average, we definitely save our clients some money because we are great negotiators, but not all agents are created equal or savvy enough in this department. So overall, just to kind of cap this conversation about your move to Auburn, it's wise to hire an agent that is a full-time professional, most likely works on a team. I am a little biased because I feel like our agents are very well trained and are here to help you and service you at the highest level, making sure that you completely understand what the lawsuit is, when it goes into effect, and what you're getting into. I think it's so important to walk buyers through their financial position and what that may look like for their budget, whether they need a budget for the compensation for the agent, as far as and also their down payment or their closing costs, and what it's going to take to get you in the right home. So like I said before, if you're looking to make the move to Auburn, Alabama, I want you to reach out to me and my team. We would love to have that initial consultation with you so you can fully understand what it's like to work with a full-time professional team here in Auburn. And as always, if you want to see our reviews, just look up Acuff Weekly Group on Google and you will see all of the over 300 5-star reviews of buyers and sellers and some agents who have worked with us in the past. We get tons of referrals and tons of calls from people just like you that are moving in the next 30 days or maybe the next 9 months. So reach out to us and we look forward to meeting you on your way to Auburn.